Hello, welcome to Zero Knowledge Assets in your browser. Here's our web interface. It has three parts. The first is a login book, or the sender. We can choose which accounts we are logged in. Think of this as your MetaMask address. The current two addresses, one is the master deployer account, and you can select an account to be logged in as by clicking it. This will cause a page refresh. It'll be slow at first, but it is switching over to being logged in as that account. And you can see here this account has 697.5 Ether, which is a lot of Ether, but it's testnet Ether, so by convention it is worthless. But from this bounty, we will distribute a largesse to the other accounts, which will use it to run day-to-day, minute-to-minute transactions of this demo. The second account is the one that was created for this demo, the one beginning in F6C. And you can see that it has a modest amount of Ether, 0.4, which is enough to run our demos. Each transaction will probably be about 0.02 Ether. So the second part of the interface is an address book, or for recipients. So this is contacts only, and this is the recipient of transaction. There goes the refresh from loading a different account. So you can click on a recipient with the same method, and again, the selected recipient will be highlighted. The first transaction we'll do is just to top up our Ether for transaction purposes. So we will select the sender, which is the master deployer account with tons, fat wads of Ether, and then we will select ourselves, F6C, as the recipient, and then we will choose to send an amount, which is 0.2 Ether. After all this refresh nonsense is over. Okay, pay Ether. And then we have the web console open, and lack of errors means success. We'll improve the feedback situation in the future, but for now, it'll probably succeed. And it's an asynchronous call, so we could already refresh, but these update messages every 10 seconds are telling you when the password is going to be erased. So you only have, 90 million seconds left, or about 27 hours. So let's refresh. Remember, this was 0.414, which is suspiciously like the square root of 2. And very slow, voila. Every time the page, when you hard refresh the page, you will see it auto-detect the account in, oh, give me a break. Let's try. Okay, we're live again. We are streaming. There we go. Let's try refreshing again. So the Ethereum account is stored. We use local storage to store Ethereum accounts. We do not use MetaMask. Instead, we create our own Ethereum account, a self-created Ethereum account, which is stored in the browser. It's stored in HTML5 local storage. So on page refreshes, it retains its value, but it can be manually cleared. It can be lost. It is a separate memory space for every tab and URL and browser, and you could lose it. So password recovery is a whole other topic. But for now, this test account is unlocked for the next 100 million seconds, which is about 27 hours for your convenience. But you can manually wipe the password to see it start again. In fact, maybe that's a useful thing to do now. We can call local storage clear. And so it's the normal noisy error warnings of a work in progress. It says no valid password found for null. That is correct. We will self-create a new password right now, or rather the Democracy Library will create such a Ethereum account for us. It's been created. It's called, well, that loaded way too fast. Okay, let's back up. So this address, which you can see in the browser, is ED16 and the password is this, which you don't have to worry too much about remembering. But if this were a real account, you should definitely save it. We would probably keep the account unlocked indefinitely until you did save it. And there we go. Now let's look at the 3 parts of this web interface. So the first part is the Logon Book, and this is where we select the sender, or where we log in as ourselves or another account. In this case, we've already logged in as ourselves, this address ed16. And the balance is listed next to the account. So we have 0 Ether, which makes sense because we just created it, as you saw in the web console. So what we want to do next is log in as a deployer account. And so this deployer account has the majority of Ether on our private testnet. And it looks like this one, the address 481. And, blur the password or wipe it from your memory here. I mean, haha, not really. This is a private testnet after all, and we can wipe it and start it up again if we ever run out of Ether. So it has 697.3 Ether. That is a lot, but it's testnet Ether, so it's worthless. But that's plenty to interact with. And from this bounty, we will distribute a small spending allowance to other accounts, including ourselves. In fact, that's the first thing we'll do. Using the second part of the interface, which is the address book, this selects the recipient. And just as in the first Logon Book, you click to select, and the selected address is shown highlighted. The second one, we will select ourselves, and it will highlight. And slightly inconsistent, different highlight, but still you can tell it's selected. And then we will pay ourselves. So we will need about 0.2 Ether to run these transactions. And we'll click Pay ETH. And down in the web console, we'll look for error messages. Lack of error messages means success. We'll work on the feedback situation to be something more rewarding with, exploding trophies and rainbows. But for now, it worked. And you can tell because we'll refresh. And here it will detect the saved password again, and it will load the password again. It will load the rest of the page again, and it will take, a few seconds. You can forward past this part if you're watching the video, or maybe, increase it up to double speed. Okay, here we go. We are back, and we have 0.2 Ether, so that gives us, more confidence that something is going on. We are doing something and poking at the world and making an impact. Okay, so the second new transaction has to do with the third part of the interface. We have a token registry, and so right now we have one token, one asset. We use them interchangeably minted. It has the trading symbol AAA, and it's deployed at this contract address, so on and so forth, purely for curiosity. And there is an amount box in Ether, in tokens. And so all the colored rectangles you see down here with numbers in them are meant to be reminiscent of banknotes. So the AZTEC terminology is notes, and these are meant to look like Euro notes, which are brightly colored, and not like US dollar notes, which are boring green colors. So there are a lot of them because we've been minting a lot for tests. There's a 10 value note, a 1 value note. We can call them dollars, just for fun, $10 note, $1 note, and the newer notes will appear down at the bottom. So the last test we ran ended up with these notes, 525 and 25. And what we will do is mint a new note to ourselves, and it will appear, we will look for it to appear down here at the bottom. So we will type in the value 777. We want to type a distinct number, a number that has never been seen before. Never been seen before in this. In this list of values, that when it appears, we'll know it is a result of our actions. So we'll click mint. Oh no, type error n is null. What could that mean? Oh, I didn't select. These got unselected when I refreshed to look at the balance. My bad. Wait for it. There we go. So we have the address and recipient selected. I could pay someone off of Gitcoin to optimize this for me. You know, the basics are there. So now we mint 777, and it will initiate the transaction. I'll give you some, you know, debug messages. It tells you where the token addresses are deployed, what address is doing the deploying, so on and so forth. And again, lack of error messages is success, and we will wait for one 10-second interval, so for the next relock timeout message to appear, and it probably succeeded, and we will find out by refreshing. And it will recapitulate the whole process. It detects our cached password, more waiting, more double speed watching. Eat some popcorn, take a bathroom break. Okay, we're back. We scroll all the way to the bottom, and there we go, 777, pretty cool. So this note belongs to us, but the second transaction we'll do will be a confidential transfer, and that is to spend the note so that it belongs to someone else, aka not spendable by us, and it will split the note. So like Bitcoin and other blockchains with discrete units of value, all the value is stored in these notes, which are called UTXOs, unspent transaction outputs. And when you want to spend them, you have to choose which notes, like which dollar bills out of your wallet, for example. And if you don't find one of the exact number that you want, you have to split an existing one. And so what will happen is you will spend a first portion to a recipient, and then you will get the second portion, the change, back as a refund to your own address. So it'll still be owned by you and spendable by you. So first, let's make an address, or pretend that you have a friend on a private messenger or on Slack, and you want to be able to send them notes. So you ask them for their public key. And in this case, we're typing both the public key and the Ethereum address, but the Ethereum address is just a Keccak hash of the public key. It's just a shorter, cuter version. And if you wanted to be even shorter and cuter, we would register a name with ENS, the Ethereum name service. So TB done for the next demo. So let's add that as a contact. It will verify that the two match, and then it will select one. So this is the recipient we want. And with our 0.2 Ether, armed with our 0.2 Ether, we will now transfer. So remember, we had we were waiting for the refresh. So we had a $777 note, and we want to transfer $77 to the recipient. And we chose that number because it's easy to add out. 777 minus 77, it's just 700 in the 77 itself. So we can tell that something happened. So we will choose the note that we want to split. Remember, this is like spending the note. You pull the note out of your wallet that you want to spend, and then you will get change back. And 77 will go to the recipient, lucky recipient. $77 is a lot. In the AZTEC example, they called it private Venmo for a taxi ride. Okay, so no error messages means a success. And we'll refresh the page. Finds a cached password, yada yada. Get on with it. Also to be done in future demos, real-time updates of display. So now you can tell that we have indeed done something because we have 0.02 Ether less than before for our account. That's about how much it costs, which is pretty pricey compared to normal Ethereum transactions. Zero-knowledge proofs take a lot of gas to verify, but it can be amortized over many transactions, many AZTEC transactions. So there are ways to scale it and make it more affordable. And now we'll scroll to the bottom, and we see indeed that this 777 note dollar previously is now two notes, a $700 one and a $77 one. And we will prove that this $700 one still belongs to us because we will try and spend it again, and be prepared for the balance to go down by another 0.02 Ether. So we'll have 0.16 after this transaction. We will send it again to this lucky recipient, And we will choose to wait a small delay, and then we will send perhaps 50 this time. So remember, it was a $700 note minus 50, which we're paying to the recipient. We'll make sure it's selected. It is selected. And we should have 650 back. So transaction is being prepared down here from ourselves, address ED16. And we'll go ahead and refresh right now. We don't have to wait too long. Most of these delays are worst case estimates that have been inserted to make sure that network requests have had time to settle. But in real life, it would be much faster. Well, except on a real Ethereum network, transactions are mined every 15 seconds, so maybe not. Requires testing. Scroll to the bottom, again, success. We see that the $700 note is now 2 new notes, 650 again, which is owned by us, and $50, which is owned by the recipient. We can show that this note is not spendable by us. Oh, and again, you see the balance has gone down 0.02 Ether to 0.16 as expected. We will try paying the $50 note, but it will fail because it no longer belongs to us. So again, 50 is selected. Confidential transfer. And it fails, this angry pink warning message. Correct, it says input note owner does not match. Let's now go to well, that concludes our demo. So that proves that we have done 3 things. We've paid Ether to ourselves. We have minted a fresh AZTEC note to ourselves, and then we have paid that note to a recipient. And we've shown that we can keep paying the refund that we get, but we can't pay the note that has been sent to the recipient. And we didn't demonstrate this, but feel free to try it out. You can try spending the previous note, the 700 note, and you can find that it will fail also. It'll say that the note status is not unspent, and that is correct. It is now the spent status. So that's all for now. If you are interested in the source code, you can get it at github.com/invisible-college/demo-aztec, and that also contains links to our, or maybe it doesn't. Okay, well, I will add a README to this with links to our Gitter channel. Thanks for watching. See you in real life.